feel like all of these tips, no matter what age you are, can help you evolve mentally. I really wish I could tell my younger self this. You can change, you can evolve. Oh my gosh, the lessons on money. This is kind of deep. When I have those, I feel rich. Hello lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about lessons, learnings, and growing up. Let me tell you, 26 was a very rocky, turbulent year. I don't know if anyone else in their 20s, like early-ish 20s, have been feeling this. I think obviously it's just the 20s are the trenches, but specifically mid 20s, 25 to 26 were very uncomfortable years for me. I don't know about everybody else, but I was going through it in a different way. 2020, I think I was about 22 or 23. That was a different kind of going through it, but this one was a comfortable, uncomfortable. And I'll kind of speak to all of why and why I think so, but it wasn't cute, but I definitely learned a lot. And I feel like it's good for me to document my learnings and my lessons and just kind of see how it changes year by year. If you're new to this channel, my name is Iffy. I make content here on YouTube, TikTok, and on Instagram all about dream life, going towards your dream life, and really just documenting my journey, actually trying to get there. In 2020, I quit my corporate job without a plan. I found freelance. I ended up making 3 times the amount I made in corporate. I started to discover entrepreneurship, and I think after freelancing for some time, this entrepreneurial spirit of wanting to own companies and start companies really grew, and that's what led me to quitting freelance, leaving 6 figures on the table, and going after my own personal brand and my new brand, Sans Raison. That has led me all the way till now, which I'm 27. My birthday was a few weeks ago, March 11th, and I have plenty to talk about. So go ahead and subscribe and let's just get right into it. One of the biggest lessons I learned last year, and honestly, probably if I look back at my whole life, all of my years, is not making decisions is keeping you poor. And when I say poor, I mean mentally, physically, spiritually, in all areas of my life. And this is something that, I don't know, just clicked last year for me. It's not about making the right decision. It's not about having all the answers. It's just making a decision, because usually, right or wrong, if you make a decision in any direction, you're eventually going to find the right one. So just say you choose the wrong direction. We're all so scared to take action because it means we have to take responsibility. We have to fail. We have to get something wrong. But even if you do that thing wrong, you eventually realize it's wrong. And then you know to eliminate that path from your way to success. So you get closer to success just naturally by trying, right or wrong. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to start businesses. I wanted to create content, but it took me so long to just finally decide and commit to that. And honestly, when I realized that the rich and successful people don't necessarily have anything special, they're just making more decisions and faster than most other people, I realized why am I sitting around? There's no point, because it's not like they have something I don't. They're just making a decision about it regardless. The second one is all about commitment. I feel this so hard right now. I'm in a point where I'm having to commit to my brand, to my business, not knowing what the future is going to look like. I've never sold product. I've never really sold anything other than my freelance services. And this is a scary, unknown, unfamiliar place for me. And I realized that having the 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality was not working for me. If you're going to do something, if you are going to make a decision, you need to be fully in it. I like to think about it, and I described it to my friend the other day, a relationship. We're so clear on in a relationship, if you're going to be in it, you might as well be in it. I mean, not all of us. I mean, Love is Blind has shown me other ways of love. If you were going to pursue a relationship, you wouldn't be questioning it the whole time. And if you do, as you can see in the show, you start to break down the foundation of the relationship and make it more insecure and less secure. And I think we do that a lot with our own businesses and the things that we want in life. We're I don't know if this will work. Maybe this won't work. This is not going to work. We're just constantly telling ourselves and keeping an open eye for other opportunities. This even comes with habits and lifestyles. We can't fully be trying to live a healthy lifestyle, but constantly scrolling, constantly eating out. You can't really do both at the same time. You can have a balance, but you can't just half commit and expect to have the same results as somebody who was fully committed. And not only that, I find it to be a lot easier when you just fully commit to something, because there's no decision making. You don't have to sit around wondering oh, is this going to work out? Or how is this going to work? Or what will it look like? You're just I know that if I commit to this, I'm going to figure it out eventually. I'm committing to figuring it out. Just if I was committing to a partner, I'm committing, not that everything's going to be perfect, we're never going to have problems, but I'm committing to always figuring it out regardless if we do or not. I really wish I could tell my younger self this. this: following all the rules is not going to get you where you want to get. And honestly, I don't think you should follow all of the rules. All of the rules is just basically what society spoon feeds us, like brainwashes us into doing. You have to get a 9-to-5 job. You have to go to college for this amount of years. So you have to have this kind of house. You have to have these kind of investments or these kind of friends or look this certain way. And I really would just push down my throat for past me that there are rules that apply to you and there are rules that don't, because you have your own authenticity. You are capable of making decisions and understanding what you want versus what other people have and what they want. I got the right job with the right degree and I ended up hating all of it. Eventually, just listening to myself led me in the right direction, and that I feel like that's so underrated. School teaches you like the things to know, but they never teach you the how. And I think we're always looking for the how, but we're like trying to find shortcuts to it. Like, what course can I take that can teach me how to do this? And I think the reality is, like, you're not gonna just know the how. You have to live it. You have to experience it. That kind of leads me to my next point about trusting yourself and going after your intuition. It's so underrated, and I don't think that that's taught enough, why we need to listen to our intuition and how to do it. Actually, listening to your intuition is a practice, and then following it is also another practice. When you're listening to your intuition, you have to actively block out noise. And this is something that I definitely had to do once I chose to live unconventionally, because there was so much information. You're never going to find a job after COVID. You're never going to be able to create a career making content. You should get a house. You should start having kids right now. If I listened to all of that advice, I would not be sitting here saying, I'm living my dream. I'm getting to do what I want to do every day. This one's kind of a sad one, because I really feel like this is the year, or last year was a year where I've started to really understand how like friends and friend groups and people around you are no longer your whole world. At one point, like, talk to my friends on the phone every single day. We like almost lived together. We like were in the same university. We were in the same clubs. We had the same jobs. And like now so much is changing. Your friends are on vacation at the same time. You're off at the same time. Everybody's like around each other. And because of that, you feel like your friends are a part of your life. Like, what do they think about this drama that just happened? I would tell them so many details about my relationship. Like, they basically knew all the details of my day, and vice versa. And now it's just so different in the fact that like I see them like once a year. I think last year I fully accepted that like that's okay, because that was a season of life. And I think actually if I were to try to continue that like mid-20s friendship lifestyle, I don't know how effective that would be and how healthy that would be for either of us, because I want them to be busy and getting things done and like living their life. And I think kind of trying to update your friends on every single thing and get their approval for every single thing might slow you down as you grow up. I'm also learning how to drink a lot of water. Yeah, it's such a hack to drink water. Another thing that I've kind of like fell in love with lately is solitude. I realized it's not something that is like a condition that you're like sent away and cast away. It's actually something that you need for growth. I think I've always enjoyed solitude and being alone, even though I was kind of raised in a very like extroverted lifestyle. Before COVID, I was constantly at events. I was constantly hanging out with friends or with family. Like, I always had people around me, but I really like being alone and like being my peace. But I don't think I really got to practice that until my later 20s. And now I'm starting to like almost isolate myself on purpose. I think that used to kind of feel like a bad thing, but I'm starting to embrace it. I'm noticing I get so much out of being alone. I really get to reflect. I get to journal. I get to think. One thing about life, and I think I will constantly and forever learn this, is like you can change. You can evolve. You're not a tree. And you're also not immune to change. Change is a part of life. And that sounds so obvious, but I don't think you realize it until you start changing involuntarily or voluntarily. I have like had friends ghost out of nowhere. I have had illnesses come up. I notice I'm changing, like my body's changing, like my interests are changing. Now I'm just more aware of that, and I'm like, okay, that could happen at any moment. Involuntary changes show you that the voluntary changes also exist. And I think that's something we forget as we get older. Like, we can change. We're not stuck. We can become different things, and you don't have to wait for life to shock you into something through like a tragic accident. Like, you can decide to change who you are. And that kind of leads me to like noticing these little things. I have really paid attention to the silly little no reason nonsensical things that I feel like have been pushed away because I was an adult and I had to be like grown and do grown and important adult things. But I think I'm finding myself going back into my inner child and exploring these things that I always wrote off as silly or stupid, or that's just me, or like I'm just dumb like that. Actually, everything that is like silly, quirky, or weird about me, whatever you want to call it, has now become like my full-time job. Like, I like talking to cameras and I like posting content. I like making aesthetic, dreamy, romantic videos. These are things that I felt so shy to talk about. Like, I would never bring this up with my corporate people or corporate group. I would never talk about my ideas on dream life and goal setting and like obsession with planning. Like I would never like push that forward. I swear this is what the rich have gotten before anyone else. This is what the successful people got before anyone else. Like you just have to take those things seriously now. I don't think there's anything special about the people that you're looking up to. I think it's the fact that they just took those things seriously before other people were willing to, like the Mr. Beast or Emma Chamberlain. Oh my gosh, the lessons on money. I'll be honest, when I started making money as a freelancer, that was really the first time I saw that amount of money in my life. Money was a huge motivating factor for a long time for me. And I think going from not making that money to making that kind of money, that like 6-figure lifestyle, which is something I dreamed of since I was a kid. Going from that to like making almost no money from all the efforts I'm putting in with my current business and the businesses I created that failed, I started to see how less value it has. Money does not affect your life the way you think it does. Even with the amount of money I was making, which honestly is more than any one person needs, it wasn't changing physically who I was, or it wasn't necessarily bringing me the joy and the happiness as much as like a YouTube video would, or as much as like creating my own product or designing something of my own. It wasn't helping me grow in a certain way. I could be using that money to grow, but I wasn't. I don't think money itself will fix anything, and I know that's not a new thought, but I really, just from someone who has been on both sides, like your mind is so much more powerful than any dollar bill. Another thing is you're not always going to get what you want, and I really feel like that's actually a good thing. One thing I learned is that if you don't have the thing that you want, you're either not ready for this thing because you have the problem. Therefore, if you knew how to solve this, or you understood something, or you had the knowledge or experience, you wouldn't have that problem. Or you're in a situation where that thing isn't for you, and the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is trying to protect you from it. The key is to not necessarily give up in either situation. If you're not getting what you want, you either know that this is not the right thing, you're not ready for this thing yet, there's something you need in order to achieve that thing, or this is just completely not the path and the door is closing, and that should be a thank you. Like, thank you to both sides. Let me move on and try something else, experiment, try again, keep going, because you will eventually rule out all of the things that are not working and find the thing that is working. Who I am is my superpower. Like literally being myself is my superpower. And I feel like this applies for everyone and to everyone. And when I say that, I mean really combining all of who you are, like your strengths and weaknesses. I used to kind of compartmentalize and put some parts of myself away and then show the other parts that were acceptable and things that people wanted to see. I was very like determined and diligent, and I worked really hard, and I was really detail oriented, and that got me to a place where everybody else was giving me accolades, but I didn't really care about the accolades. I wasn't impressed with my degree. I wasn't impressed with the job that I chose or the skills I was learning. But when I really started to think about what do I want in life, like what do I actually value, fun, creativity, like adventure, challenging myself, I started to put that at the forefront, even if it felt like a weakness. I was always way too into content. I was always way too obsessed with social media. I kind of got compliments and critiques about how organized I am. I always felt like, okay, tone yourself down, like take it a step back. But I think that's the problem. Like I'm not maximizing all parts of myself. And I feel like there is something for you and for me where we get to maximize all of them. Now with the job I have, with content creation, with being an entrepreneur, all of those cons, like being way too into the weeds, working a lot, all of those things have benefited me. Number 12, everything is so much easier than you think, but it's also simultaneously harder than you think. And that was such, at the time, felt like a useless lesson or saying, but I think it actually makes everything easier, like both sides. This is just like a nice, like comforting saying that I say to myself to like ground me and kind of make me neutral, because I find that whenever you feel like things are really hard, you take it to the extreme. It's like, oh, it's impossible. Or when you think things are really easy, you're like, oh, that can be done in a day. And I think we do this a lot, but anytime you feel like something is too easy, like why doesn't everyone do this? This must be so easy. Like why is this so obvious to me and not to other people? Or why is this so obvious right now? There's probably a lot that you're missing from it. So just kind of like use that to humble yourself and prepare yourself. And there was times where you can use it the other way around, where, oh my God, I'm never gonna make it. This is so complicated. This is so hard. There's no way I can understand this. I'm feeling this currently with like French. And anytime I start to overthink or overcomplicate it, I'm just like, oh, in the past, and literally every single time that I've encountered something hard, I overcome it. I get past it. Number 13, patience can be learned. I don't consider myself a very patient person. I'm very impatient. perfection. I want like instant gratification and I always want results. But going after this like unconventional life, different career path, different kind of lifestyle, I realized that I'm going to have to create and maintain a lot of patience because you never know when things are going to work. I'm realizing that patience is not just something that you have or don't have. It's not this binary thing. It's something that you develop and you learn over time. And one trick, I learned this from Layla Hormozi watching one of her videos, is that you focus on something else. Like you don't just have this like, oh, like I can just sit here and be happy with everything knowing nothing is working out. It's really about putting that attention and energy into something that you can control. And when you're actually working on your goals, I'm talking about like day in, day out, like constantly looking for opportunities to grow, constantly looking for things you can do. I can focus on that instead of waiting around and feeling impatient with the result while the thing I can't control blooms. All the perfectionists are gonna hate this one, but you need to hear it. Done is better than perfect. I actually stole that tagline from one of my friends, Delia. I've just always wanted things to be exactly the way I envision it. But especially creating this brand, I have realized that doing enough, just day by day, the small little action, the 1% better, whatever you want to call it, it's enough. Like, just trust me, it's enough. Like, it doesn't start with you making every single thing perfect. And I know you know that, but it's just hard to realize that in the moment. You feel hesitant to even begin something you feel like you're going to be bad at. I literally just finished a French course today. I'm in the process of learning French and I just was distracted. I wanted to do other things. I wasn't fully present, but I did it anyway. And guess what? It's going to suck today, but tomorrow when I come back to it, I'm going to be like, oh, I actually remember something from yesterday. I'm actually glad that I put effort yesterday. Even if it was shitty effort. To get to the good one, you have to start the shitty one. This is kind of deep. It might sound cliche, but if you're not living, you're literally dying. We are getting closer to death, and I'm not trying to sound super morbid, but there was just something that clicked to me that we don't have time. We don't have as much time as we think we do. We think we have time, and it's not whether that's true or not. It's the foundational mindset that goes behind that. It kind of allows you to sit with discomfort instead of take action on it. And if you read this book called The Defining Decade, I feel like it'll change your whole perspective on this. And there's this other book called like 4,000 Weeks, which kind of like really hits home that like our time here is limited. Literally, if you aren't using your time, which is always ticking down, like going downward to live, there's no point of like half living or not living at all. Like we like to add steps and try to delay living. We try to like delay things as much as we can when really we can start right now. I don't know about everybody else, but for me specifically, time and my energy is my freedom. When I have those, I feel rich. These days, 24 hours a day, I design my day, and I'm really proud of that because that is something that I really, really value. I realized that I didn't have a lot of that working for people and working in corporate. I started to see like, oh, I was meant to like live a life where I'm designing my day constantly. Like I don't think any other format was working for me. Even freelance wasn't free enough for me. I don't have to wake up to messages. I don't have to wake up to emails or pending tasks. Like I wake up to the things I care about, like meditating, journaling, reading. I get to think, I get to be creative, I get to dress up. The process and the journey itself is the destination. I saw this on Ali Abdul's podcast or one of his videos. Any process that is worth your time, you are going to have to fall in love with the process or you will run yourself sick trying to think about the outcomes. This is what I did with content creation back in the day, and it's still natural for me to do that now. Like look at the numbers, look at the views, look at how much money I'm making from this thing. And it kind of really hit me, I swear, literally like last month, that I'm like, I'm starting to actually love the process more than the outcome. And this requires a lot of like dopamine detoxes, doing little things. Like I take these breaks now just to like fold laundry or do dishes without stimulation, to literally train my brain to find these small actions gratifying. Just posting the video is enough. Literally making the video is enough. And I'm learning how to do something new. That's enough. Everything else is a reward on top of it. This kind of goes to my earlier points, but you're so capable of learning something new. I never thought I would be a product girl. I literally would say this to everyone I know. I'm like, I'm never going to create products. Like I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm just like a service, digital, that's it. And here I am with a new sweatshirt, and I'm coming out with more products that I'm actually really like excited about and interested in. And I think just having these certain words in my vocabulary, like I won't ever do that. Like that's not me. This is just who I am. They're so useless to my self-development and growth. And I think everyone, honestly, like you just never know what's on the table or what you haven't fully explored. Because I really believe like all the things we want are already within us. So it's not even like you're adding new things. It's like you're just letting what's here like actually come out. You're capable of learning those things. So like don't push away any desires or hobbies just because you're bad at it or you don't know about it or you're ignorant to something. You you really just need to follow what's exciting, what's interesting, like what naturally draws you in. One huge lesson I'm learning is authenticity. That's another huge value of mine. I'm starting to really understand what it is. At first I used to be like, oh, it's just like a fun, like expressive word people use to like be themselves. There's like no negatives about it. And I never really considered the side of it that like when you are being authentic, when you're truly being authentic, it's uncomfortable. It's actually very uncomfortable. It's kind of like self-care. Like it gets this great marketing, like it's so fun, bubble baths and spa days, but really self-care is like pushing yourself to work out, waking up early every day because you said you would. I think it's the same thing with authenticity. Authenticity is really about attracting the right people and the right things based on who you actually are, and then repelling people at the same time. And that's the thing that nobody talks about: being disliked, not having people understand you, being the weird one. Like that's also a part of authenticity that I just didn't fully embrace. Started to understand that, but I'm like, this is good. Like if somebody doesn't like me, or if I don't vibe with someone, like we don't have to, like that's okay. One thing I'm starting to get so comfortable with is silence. This is like a step further with solitude. It's like we're terrified of this. Like meditating will teach you how terrified you are of being still and being silent and having nothing to say or nothing to do or being bored, but going towards it makes you realize like how important it actually is. When I took my human design test, I realized that I actually do love peace. I love solitude. I like quietness. Don't get me wrong, I'm a city girl. I love a bustling city, but there's something about me that loves that and like really also loves like calm, peace, tranquil environments. I have started to embrace this like even in conversation, allowing there to be silence, like allowing myself to not have anything to say. For the most part, I know what the right thing is to do, but then I started to ask myself like, do I feel like talking right now? Do I feel like adding to the conversation? Do I even feel like inquiring what this person likes to do? Do I care? Oh my God, turning off my phone notifications. Recently turned off like all of them. Calls, texts, apps. I just can't tell you how much that just feels like peace to me. I almost feel like I'm the only person in the world. I feel really grateful that I'm allowed to do that, because with work and clients, I just was never allowed to be off. If you haven't tried it, especially as you're getting older, please just give it a try. One thing that we have to understand is delusion is a default. Whether you are delusional about how your life sucks or you're delusional about how your life's great, you're still deluded. We are all operating on stories that we tell ourselves. Whether we tell ourselves something good or bad, it's literally fueling our thoughts and our actions. If you have a belief, it's usually what you're thinking about. When you think about it often, it informs what you do with those thoughts, the decisions you choose to make, the opportunities you choose to go after. At the beginning of my 20s, I put myself out there. I really wasn't thinking at all, and I think things just came to me. So if you're not choosing to constantly think in a positive direction or constantly reroute yourself, given all the odds you get as you grow up with your job, with friends, with people around you, you are going to like spiral into the thoughts and spiral into the bad instead of taking control and making it good. Look, this one is a personal lesson. I don't have scientific evidence on how this works, but I feel it to be true, and I feel like over the next 2 years I will come back with findings and reports. But I swear we all have the answers. We literally have the answers to our questions, our problems, what we want in life. I think we just have to find it. And I think finding your passion can kind of be misleading, because I think a lot of times you just need to listen to what's in you. There are things you've always been drawn to. There are things that you really like, things that you desire. Even without experience or exposure, you're still drawn towards it. You're like curious about it. Like you have this burning curiosity. I feel like those are usually the signs that your intuition, your soul, however you want to think about this, is guiding you towards the thing that you actually want. Like following those excitements, following those joys, those answer a lot of the questions that we have now. And it's really hard to see, because right now you're like, okay, how do I make more money? Or how do I find more friends like me? How do I find my partner? Like I feel like these are questions that you battle in your 20s. It's maybe that you're asking the wrong question. Like your frame of mind is in the wrong place. It kind of goes with the whole patience thing. You just need to focus your energy on the right things, and I feel like all the other little things will start to answer and fix themselves. This one's kind of like a twofold. You can do anything, but you also don't have to do anything. I feel like this could be liberating in both ways. A lot of times we're telling ourselves like we can't do something. This can be like, I'm not capable, or I can't. There's some rule or some reason I'm not allowed to do X. I think what that tells us is that we don't have a choice. Back to my first lesson, making decisions keeps you poor in all areas and domains in your life. And when you take that choice away from yourself, you are literally like removing your dream outcome. And I noticed I was doing that in so many little ways. I think just challenging your can'ts and won'ts and like why you think you can't do something really will show you how like shallow they are. And then also allowing yourself to not have to do things. That was a huge one for me. Like, I don't have to hang out with people just because they ask. I don't have to work a traditional job. I don't have to think that making money is hard. If anything taught me that, it was last year. Life isn't supposed to be easy. Life is not supposed to be easy. And I think the more we try to make it easy, we create more hard. There was this quote or this saying about choosing your hard and doing the hard things so that life is easier that really changed my mindset on this, because I think I was always trying to like skate out of things. Like, I'm not gonna work out because I don't feel like it. I'm not gonna get up early because I'm tired. I'm not gonna follow my routine because I have work. I have something else in the way. If I didn't work out, I would notice it in my mental health. If I wasn't dressing up every day, it would affect my confidence. I don't trust myself because I'm not doing what I say I'm gonna do. One thing begets the other. When I started to dress up, I noticed I wanted to film more videos. When I started to film more videos, I felt confident enough to post them. I think we have to impose that challenge on ourselves and make things a little bit hard and take risks because we don't have as much challenge as like our parents or their grandparents. I keep coming back to this lesson because it never misses every single year, but please, please, please do not take advice from people that you don't want to be like, especially as you're going towards the life of your dreams, what you want to do. It's so easy to take in and soak in so much advice from so many people. The person that is giving you the advice can only give you advice based on their perspective and their life. I'm able to filter it now. Like, I'm like, okay, that's really good advice, or that sounds pretty like good, like there's something wrong with it, but for some reason it doesn't hit with me and I don't know why. And a lot of times if I just look at their life, their relationship, their career, their whatever the advice is applying to, I'm like, oh, that's probably why, because they don't have the thing that I'm looking for. If you're going into uncharted territory, you're gonna get a lot of information, and you need to be able to have something internally that deciphers what is for you and what's not for you. The last lesson I will leave you with is literally just do it. Start today. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, start today. If there's something that you have an idea about and you're even half certain about it, just take one piece of action today. It will tell you if that's something you should continue to do or not do. And I think there's just like this waiting epidemic. It attacks everyone. It happens to me all the time. Okay, what is the easiest, smallest, obvious step I can take today? Even if that's just signing up for the class, you're more likely to achieve the goal if you just start. Those are all of my lessons. If you want to watch some more mindset and self-development videos, I will link my playlist and all the videos in the description. And I really hope you have a wonderful next year, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.